Steve Craic. Welcome, and this is an updated version of a Discord video that I did a very long time ago, but the actual server has changed a lot over the years, so I want to do kind of an updated version so you get a better idea of how it works. So in Craic Gaeilge here, usually when you arrive, I recommend heading to the Start Here channel, and the Start Here channel essentially lays out exactly what goes on within this Discord server, and it can be overwhelming initially. It's very reminiscent of like instant messenger type applications, but it just lists out how we interact in the server, and very importantly, we have the CM system that we use, which means Kavanagh or correct me. And if you see people's names on the side, you will notice that people who have CMs after the name are open for corrections within the server. There is one thing, however, that we always do correct, and that has to do with the copula, because it is an extremely common mistake and it's an essential part of Irish grammar. So regardless if you have a CM in your name, you will always be corrected on the copula. In general, these are the rules. We follow Discord's guidelines and usual, I would hope, common sense rules. And we have a few other things too. This is the exact video that I'm updating right now, so that's a bit meta. We have moderators in place, and we have voice chat systems as well, where we have beginner, intermediate, and advanced, and it just explains the rules surrounding each one. The voice channels are on the left here. And we also have a radio bot where you can click in and listen to the radio live. Now, if you notice here on the left, all the channels are listed in the Irish language, and that's because, as much as possible, we are making sure that the server is in the Irish language. And now, obviously, I'm speaking English to you for clarity, but just to explain, so there is one English section, which is here, English questions only, and that is literally for questions only. It's not for chatting, it's just for particular clarity surrounding topics. And the reasoning behind all of this is because that there are plenty of places you can go if you want to speak English, and we're trying to make it as immersive as possible. So if you want to use our bots, we have our, as I said, we have our radio bots, and there's kind of examples of how to utilize them there. We have Radio na Gaeltachta, Radio na Life, and Radio Fáilte set up. And we also have dictionary bots set up, which have the Irish-English dictionary, the English-Irish dictionary, and also on Folklore Biog. And then when we're looking for terms, you just go down here to Turscler Folklore, and you can see it can bring you everything up here. So it's really handy because it means that just you don't have to click out if you don't want to. As you can see here, I'm using the desktop version of Discord. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend the desktop version maybe first if you've never used Discord, because on phone it can be a little bit confusing. But the main thing is if you're on phone, you usually swipe left to experience all of these channels, and swipe right if you want to see who's online, etc. So running through our actual things here, we have a system here where you can, if you select an emoji, sorry for all this scrolling by the way, if you select an emoji, and it automatically assigns you your dialect, whichever one you have chosen to focus in on. And then I have a really good breakdown here with the help of two friends of mine on how to, on the differences in dialects and touches and things on things like Leinster Irish, etc. And then just to break down a full list of the general areas surrounding that. We have an FAQ. This is our, we have a grammar section, and basically these are shortcuts to specific grammar points that you can just put into the search bars. And then if you scroll up, we just have a lot of discussions about commonly asked questions within the server. We do not talk about the educational system in our server because we are sick to death of hearing about it, and it always goes around to the same points. So there's a complete no-no on that. And there are plenty of places online, as I said, that if you want to discuss it, I would recommend Twitter is the most obvious one to talk about the education system. So there's a blanket ban on that. And there's a few other things that we're just really tired of hearing. So we just generally don't really discuss them here. We have a feedback system, which is super useful, which is adapting the Kavanagh system, which I mentioned earlier. And essentially, if you ask a question, quite often or not, we will not answer it straight away, in the sense that we would rather you give us a suggestion of what you may think it might be, and then we can correct you. And we usually recommend you repeating it back so that we do understand if you got it right, or it gives us a good idea if you are still getting it wrong and perhaps don't fully understand the point. So it works for us, and we recommend going down that route. We have our resources listed out here, and we're always happy to share many resources, which I'll show you later. Robot, I've already shown. Imachtaí are literally events interesting events we share. We have our normal mod channels, which you will not see. And then we also have forums. So these are great starting points. If you enter the server for the first time and you just want to test out your Irish with some set questions, we have our forum topics listed out here, and you can always add to your answers to that. These are, as I said, the voice channels. This is our general channel. You can see someone is typing here, and that's why it is bolded. One of our mods is actually chatting here. And then we have our general topics listed out here into various sections. Our learning hub down here, as I said, this is our grammar. These are the shortcuts again. And if you look here, and apologies for the quick scroll for a second. So we have a lot of information when it comes to grammar. So they're all broken down into topics, so you can just browse them at your leisure. We have even more Acne resources here. And again, as you can see from the scroll, fast scroll again, there's a lot here. There's a lot of information there. Phrases we have listed out here in one place that you can browse. We're Irish is actually a website. Anything I usually push to this channel. And this is our English questions only, as I said. And we have our channels broken into dialects here as well, if you would want to focus on a specific dialect. If you don't understand actually what a grammar phrase means, this is the glossary that we have. Seanachil, we have them here, proverbs, and then a history of different aspects of Standard Gaeilge is there. Ifrin is at the very bottom. Ifrin is a place where you can discuss, as we describe, hellish topics, just things to do with that could provoke a bit of anger or may have a bit of sensitivity to it. It pops into here. So this is essentially the main overview of the Discord. It's worth noting that there's potentially a lot of notifications that could go off. So I always recommend you turn off notifications. And for that, you just go into the settings. You can do it on mobile as well. And I actually have described within the server how to do this if you just want to read it out. But notification settings here, if you click on those, and I recommend just setting it to only mentions. And even if you don't even want to get updates from me, which is fine, you just tick this button here, which is suppress everyone, and here, or suppress all rules, or whatever suits you. But I always recommend you doing that, because otherwise it might drive you a bit mad. And learning how Discord works can be a bit daunting. So if you have any questions, the mods listed here, Eve's currently online, I'm currently online. This means I'm just busy doing something. Oh, sorry, my face is actually covering it. No, let me show you. Yeah, so basically I'm up here, this is me, Unitex, and our mods are usually listed out here. So this just symbol means that we're doing something else, so it's probably best to go to another mod and we might respond straight away. But there's also a mod role that you can tag, and that will get us directly should you have some issues. But if you do have questions, it's always this channel for English. Because, as I said, we are trying to make sure that the majority of this server is in the Irish language. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope if you do want to join, you say hello. I'm going to put the link for this server into the description and into the comments. And yeah, Cé mé sibh sa todhchaí. Slán tamil.